Welcome to
Hi,
the.
Jay.
Oh, okay. I was gonna just go right into it, but
All right, fine. You do it.
okay. Welcome to the Grumpy Dungeon Masters podcast. I'm the Grumpy Dungeon Master Jay. My co-host is Grumpy Dungeon Master Christopher,
Hi.
and we like to talk about dungeon mastering. Not,
Yeah.
not really the kinky kind of dungeon mastering, although that's another podcast. We might do
If
it someday.
if that's your tabletop game, then more power to you.
More power to you, as long as everyone at the table's okay with it. That's very
Yeah.
professional. Yeah.
Well, that actually kind of touches on today's topics too, a little bit.
I hope not the kinky part.
No, just rules at the table.
Oh, okay. The 44 rules that the DM laid out for D&D, of which you sent me 16 of them.
Well, see, I just grabbed a quick screenshot. There was a post on our D&D horror stories called um, the my DM laid out 44 rules for D&D. And so I grabbed the first screenshot and I sent it to everybody and in our little D&D group. Um, and so I felt very inspired by a couple of these rules because some of them, the guy's just being an asshole. And then some of them are just like, yes, absolutely, this needs to happen. I tried to go,
I only read the first 3 and I was like, yeah, this is how a DM should be." But
I,
I'm a bit of an asshole D&D or DM sometimes, so.
yeah, I did go back to find the rest of the rules beyond the 16 that we have. And unfortunately, at the, sorry, I would try to go back to find the 44 rules. And unfortunately, there were just too many. Negative posts and feedback on the Reddit, so the post was deleted.
Nah.
So unfortunately, I can't get them, but we'll read through a couple. We'll take turns. I'll start first.
I'll read through all 16 of them.
And fine, you read through all 16 of them. I'm lazy.
Oh, all right. I should have known. Uh, okay, rule number 1, I'm timing turns. I don't give a fuck if it's unfair in your opinion because your spells are hard and you don't know what square to move to. You get 1 minute to know all the actions you want to take, or I skip your turn. I have no problem with this rule. 1 minute's a long time.
I mean, if everyone at the table is paying attention to what's going on, you don't necessarily need a lot of time to have your player do your action. I can understand if someone needs to basically plan out a move and he's waiting for his turn to see where all the players are, to measure
Yep.
out a radius effect, and double check that the spell is going to work the way he intends.
Oh yeah.
But it's obviously that I'll preface these rest of these rules to say this DM has definitely had it with his group
Oh
and is
yeah.
just posting a lot of things that in in the spirit of things they would make a lot of sense, but he's just going about it the wrong way.
That one, some of them, he probably is. As I said, I have not read all of them intentionally because I figured we were talking about this tonight.
Yeah,
I wanted it to be a real, me running my mouth. Uh,
fair enough.
the first one though, I have no problem with. I would hope that your party you don't have to time things. I've never had to time rounds for my players. Mind you,
It's
I don't play Adventures League. I do tend to play with experienced players, and the inexperienced players that I do play with have an experienced player sitting right next to them to sort of walk them through, what they should do.
giving a hard time limit is where it crosses the line. But saying have an idea of what your character is going to do when your turn comes around isn't far enough.
Ye-
That'd be the more
Yeah,
appropriate thing to say.
yeah,
Don't don't fiddle on your phone for while everyone else is taking their turns and then look at the board and go, okay, shit, what am I gonna do?
yeah. If you're gonna do that, you can leave my damn table.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not a fan of people sitting there playing on their phones until their turn rolls around, waiting
yeah.
forever, taking their turn, and then going right back to the phone. If you're not engaged in my game, why in the fuck are you there?
Which is kind of weird, and not to get out of tangent on just number one, but Jesus, um, I've experienced that quite a lot, especially in Adventures League, where people will be on their phones.
Hmm.
When you have 9 people at a table, it happens all the time.
Yeah,
Um,
there's too many people at the table,
yeah.
plain and simple.
For me too, like when the few times I have been a player, um, I usually play something very simple, and my turns are stand there, hit things, do something else. I don't have to plan very far ahead. I smork, I go face, and that's as far as I go. So I do play on my phone in between turns, but I also don't delay what I'm going to do. But if it's a really engaging battle, I won't be on my phone. So part of it is kind of the DM too. You have to make very engaging combats and keep the flow moving. And I that's something I do strive to do, especially when I have bigger tables. It's like, hey, what do you want to do? Um, and I keep the flow moving. I usually don't I'll end someone's turn after their action and let them move their characters or whatnot
Hmm.
while the other person's planning out what they want to do.
Um,
That
that
happens a few times. That kind of speed things along.
Yeah, I don't touch my phone when I'm at D&D. I'll occasionally check the time, but that's pretty much it.
I'm looking at my phone right now, man.
Of course you are, because you don't pay attention to anything I say.
Huh?
Yeah. All right, rule number 2 by this DM. If you want harder fights, bring a second character sheet and expect to twiddle your thumbs when you die. I'm not going to baby anyone.
I don't have
Uh,
this problem. None of my players ever died in my fights.
yeah, and definitely never had that problem. The second character sheet thing, man, that's a very second and first edition mindset of which I personally love. But with 5e, that's
No,
people
it's a
people
little much.
new people who play 5e are not gonna go for that, I think.
I mean, I've had players show up mid game for Renters League and hey, can I play? Sure. Do you know how to play? Yeah, I do. All right, make a fifth level character, and then they just sit down bam, 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 bam. I'm done. All right, ready to go. I can knock out a fifth level character in 5 minutes. That's not
Oh
going to be
yeah,
hard.
yeah, yeah,
I don't need to bring a second character sheet. That's a little much. Um, but
yep,
and Call of the Cthulhu, there's a couple other RPGs where death happens a lot. You need to know because the system is very role play intense. You do need to know what your next character is going to be because your character will die, and
yes,
when it dies, we need to replace you. So you
yeah,
need to plan that second and third character in Call of Cthulhu,
yeah,
but you don't for D&D. In
yeah,
D&D, I'll kill your character in a combat and I'll bring you back at the end of the combat, or I'll make your replacement character show up. I have
yeah,
one player that keeps dying all the time in Adventures League, and he got cursed with a magic item, a very first session. So every time he dies, I just bring him back with the curse getting more and more drastic on him.
oh lord.
Right now he's basically kind of uh, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where he's all big, muscly, and purple and shit.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty much his current state of being because he keeps dying so much.
Awesome. Yeah, I yeah, like old school revival stuff, Dungeon Crawl Classics, Call of Cthulhu, Boot Hill, a lot of these old
Yeah.
style games, but they're almost all old style games.
Yeah.
The modern era, you don't tend to do that unless you're playing ones that are similar to the older ones.
Yeah. The issue with his statement here is just how he's presenting the. If you want harder fights, bring a pick a character sheet. Expect to twiddle your thumbs when you die. I'm not gonna baby anyone.
Yeah.
This dude definitely needs to take a chill pill. Number three.
Or his table is garbage.
Yeah. Number
Uh,
three.
if you call me or my roles unfair, I'll get up and go home. And if you got to ride with me, you can find your own way back and suck it up.
Uh, I have never had anyone call my rolls unfair. I
Uh,
mean,
you,
I adventures I roll out in the open, so
yeah,
no one can really question my role. I've gotten I've gotten double 20s on disadvantage. I've gotten double ones on advantage. It all happens. Last week in Adventures League, I was rolling hot, and the players were I don't think anyone rolled above a 10 except for one player who got three crits in a row. And I was getting 18s, 17s, 19s.
it
If
happens.
you're
Yeah,
if you're calling rolls unfair from any standpoint, you have a serious problem at your table because if that
yep,
level of trust isn't there, you're gonna be having some problems.
yeah. You as the DM have to be trustworthy. If your players can't trust you, I would suggest taking the DM screen down and rolling out in the open.
And you need to
If your
trust
players
your
trust,
players.
and vice versa, yes.
Yeah.
I've had cheating players at the table before, and my other players have told me about it, and I've called them out publicly, and then that shit stopped very quickly. Uh, but yeah, there has to be trust on both sides, and if there isn't, then you've got a problem at your table. Uh, Number four. Okay, I have not read this one, so I'm going to take your character's loot away as regularly as you want it given out. Rule three will apply here.
What?
Uh, I'm gonna guess that he's talking about taking away magic items.
Yeah, that
That's
that's fitting.
I never encourage that.
No,
Um,
don't
I
take
was
away people's fun stuff. If it's part of the story, you can take it away, but do that whole like video game thing where like there's a chest with all their shit in it.
Yeah, or make it very easy. You choke the orc guard out, steal the key from him, go to the next room, and punch one orc unconscious, and there's your stuff. Make it
Yeah,
real simple to get back.
it's really it really sucks to take gear away from a player. Now, if it's part of the story, that's a little different. Like we were just talking about the prison scenario, that can happen, but you need to basically make it so that no matter what exit they choose, their gear is going to be found along the way out. You know?
Yeah. I mean, even if they don't get their gear for the adventure, that could be okay as long as they're able to collect it before they leave the adventure.
Yeah,
Like if you want to run some adventure where they have to beat up some orcs and take their weapons and then use those to fight their way out, go for it. That could be
yeah,
fun.
yeah. And that's definitely a lot of fun. It just you gotta give an opportunity to get it back, and then like don't leave it in just like one armory spot that they didn't. Oh, you didn't search that one room, so you didn't get your shit back. If you're gonna do that, tell them it's like, hey, you guys are leaving without your gear. Make it their decision to leave their gear behind or not.
Yeah,
You know?
the ability to re-obtain it is what's important.
Yes.
All right, number five. If you don't act out any of your persuasion or intimidation or any other social checks, you fail before you even roll. You fail immediately because you aren't even trying and you're making the game lame for everyone else.
I
I
wholly disagree with this shit.
I don't actually hate this roll. All right, this
I
rule.
I can understand, but see, the thing is that like for you and your group, you're all very comfortable with each other. You guys can get angry, you guys can get persuasive, you guys can, jive and have that narration go on great.
Hmm.
When you play in public, man, some people that doesn't work well.
Yep.
I, as a player, don't want to be intimidating in front of other people. Maybe I'll say something in a less intimidating way. It's like, hey, I'm going to tell this guy that I'm going to break his legs and chop off his fingernails if he doesn't give us that, and let me do all the intimidation roll that way. But I'm not going to go there and act it out. But that's just me.
Yeah.
I will be specific. I'm not going to say, hey, I want to intimidation check him.
Over the
Roll.
years, I've played in gaming stores for the vast majority of my life, like D&D in quote unquote public. Um, you're going to end, and even with random people, you're going to have some people who just are not comfortable role playing,
Yeah,
and when they're new to the game, you don't want to hold this rule, for any account.
yeah.
After they've been playing for a good while, you need to at least start prompting them to try to act out what their character's doing.
Another thing is too is like I've played a few games too where I like the Star Wars game that we played years ago.
Hmm.
I played a whatever the Star Wars character was with the pink female race,
Oh
and
yeah,
they're a bunch of seductresses. I'm not going to role play that out.
yeah.
All right,
So
I'm just
especially
going to tell the DM I'm going to seduce this guy and move on,
yes,
and I'm going to give you the role. There will be no role play.
yep,
That's not going to happen.
yeah.
I'll tell you that I'll get prepped and everything, but I
I
ain't gonna.
stare him in his eye and say, "Hey, baby, what's up?"
Actually, I think I did do that with Eric.
Yeah,
But
but you're also we were playing. Yeah, it's people we're very comfortable and
right.
familiar with, and all having a good fucking time. So
So if you're looking for a very big narrative heavy game, you're going to have to find a lot of players that are very narrative focused and wanting to do that. We're not all critical role players.
Yep.
Sorry. That's on DM being a dick to everybody.
So number 6. This one I just breezed through it. I don't necessarily agree with this one. If you don't pick up cues for side quest, that's not my problem. Get over yourself. It's not a video game. It's a role playing pen and paper based game with miniatures. I'm not holding your hand if you choose not to pursue shit. And I
I, I
think that
I get where he's coming from, but I'm sure this was a very specific thing that he had a problem with.
yes, that's exactly what I was about to get to. This sounds like he has had his players go the opposite fucking directions of where he's leading them and just ignore his shit over and over and over again.
Sounds like a
And
him problem, not a player problem.
no, if your players are intentionally not going after the fucking quest, that's the player's problem. If the fucking DM's, practically holding a sign out saying "Go this way," and then they refuse, that's the players causing the problem. Um,
Maybe.
it I've seen it before. I've done it before intentionally to break a. I've done it intentionally to break a dungeon master from railroading. So
Yeah.
I get how, and I understand he was annoyed by it, and I understood he was annoyed by it, but he never made it obvious we were railroaded again after that. So it could be either way.
Yeah. When we were playing our game on stream, the party had just basically finished fighting a big bad, and they were very beat. And I was like, okay, you guys have run of the place. There's no more bad guys around. You guys can explore this little fortress you guys have taken over and let me know what you want to do. Well, my wife immediately goes to the teleportation rock and does the thing that would teleport them into Xanathar's lair. Now, I intended them to loot the place, which they still didn't technically do. Just just to let them know. Um, and take a long rest before going in there. So I was very blatant saying, "Hey, you're very beat up. You may want to take a rest before you put that little thing in that little square." You know,
Yeah.
and I expected them to kind of like do some arcana checks on it. I was going to give them information and blah 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 blah. They didn't do any of that stuff. Um, do you remember the movie? Like I think it's called Mom and Dad Save the Universe.
I've never heard of it.
Um, it's Mom and Dad Save the World, the 1992 film. All right,
Nope, never heard of it.
it's very Spaceballs esque. You may like it. Um,
Okay.
it's got John Lovitz, Terry Garr, Jeffrey Jones, Wallace Shawn, and Eric Idle. It's a very funny movie. All
Okay.
right. And one of the jokes is that there's this army chasing the mom and the dad, and they have the pick me up grenade, the grenade that can lay waste to an entire world and genocide entire people. And it's just a grenade that says pick me up. And if you pick it up, you disappear. It disintegrates you.
Oh.
So this entire army is laid waste to this pick me up grenade because they can't explain that they have a pick me up grenade in front of them. So they keep picking it up to show the officer. So like that's kind of like the scenario I was stuck in. They're like, "Oh, I want to go put this thing in that little square. I want to do this little square." And I had to like finagle what I was doing, but that's just what I have to do as a DM.
Yeah.
If the players aren't picking up your cues, you need to fix your cues. Or just make the cues happen in the way you want them to happen and just live with it. So
Yeah.
I don't know what this scenario is with this DM, what exactly happens, but
Yeah. He does specifically at least say side quests.
yeah.
To me, in side quest, to me, that's the ones that don't really matter. So maybe the players only want the main story.
Then they get just the main story. You're the DM. You're supposed to be letting them have fun.
Yeah.
If they just want to pursue the main story, they just pursue the main story.
All right. So number 7, if you move to a square in combat, there's no take backs.
This isn't chess, man. Fuck off.
Hold on. No, this one there is argument for this. So it depends on how you and your players operate. So me, I'm very, very loose on rules. Uh, if my player, say my player moves to a square and the wizard goes after him and was planning to fireball and would get him in that square, I would allow that person playing the wizard to say, "Hey, man, I'm planning to fireball there." Yeah, that's very sort of metagamey, but I don't care. For my game, it works. That's just sort of how we operate.
No,
If he,
I think
if he,
this guy is saying he's moving everyone square by square, and if they move that square to a different square and they provoke an op, he
if
doesn't
you're
give the option to go. You'll provoke an op if you do that, and then they pull the me back. It's like, okay, I don't want to do that. You
If
know,
it look, if that yeah, and this is a lot of these are very vague as to how they were intended.
right?
If that is the case, that's too tight on the reins.
Yeah,
But if it's you don't want your players to metagame the combat, and then one guy moves up to his movement to get in combat and would take the fireball. Well, I could see some DMs being like, "Nah, you made the move.
yeah.
Now,
Once it's the next player's turn, you can't take
not
back
not
your
even
move.
next player's turn, but once you've moved up, if the other player would interject that they wanted to fireball there, I could see some DMs wanting to say, "No, it's already done. If you're going to fireball, you have to, figure out how to make it work."
Fair
Uh,
enough.
yeah. Number 8, you tell every single person what you're doing before you do it. You don't fucking roll dice and then say you're casting fireball. You tell us all. I'm perfectly okay with that rule. You don't go rolling dice if you're not being obvious what you're doing. At the very fucking least, tell the DM what you're doing. I don't care if you have
No,
to text message them or write them a note, but
you gotta tell someone what you're doing before you start rolling dice.
yeah, yeah, that's actually a good rule. So good on this DM.
Just don't be a dick about it like he is.
Yeah, maybe a little less dicky. Number 9, I will give out exhaustion more frequently. If you argue, go home, or you can actually fight me over it, or you can DM yourself. God damn, dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
It took it,
this is when the list got great. We're only at number 9. There's 35
yeah.
more to
It,
go.
it it took me up to number 9 before I'm like, damn, at least take a chill pill here, man. Uh, I don't care about him giving out exhaustion more frequently. That might be how him and his table want to operate. Probably not with this guy. The fact he's willing to fight him over it, like physically throw down. Goddamn, dude.
You can go home or physically fight me in the parking lot. Fuck
Yep.
you. Haha.
Number 10. Every snide comment you make to an NPC will be remembered and paid back in triplicate. You all seem to believe there is little consequence. I love this rule.
Yeah, but it's not the way it's presented. But I do occasionally have to basically ask a players like, "Did you say that out loud?"
Yeah,
Um, and sometimes the players will go because I run a very jokey table.
we all
Okay,
do. Yes.
yeah, and so when someone makes a joke at an NPC, I have to ask them, like, "Did you say that out loud?" And did you say that in play? And a lot of times they'll go, "Fuck it, yeah," you know.
Yep. To the gallows with him.
But yeah, I mean, like if you're playing a very narrative session, then yeah, you can't be very jokey, you know.
Yeah, you need to
Um,
stay on target. But I have players who will intentionally say like the NPC's name wrong over and over again, are just rude to NPCs or just constant jokes to NPCs, and it's not the time to do that usually when they're doing it. So yeah, I don't have a problem with this rule. Like if you're shitting on other human beings, they're gonna remember it.
well, you just need to identify what's in play and what's not better.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have actually done what you were talking about. Ask them, did you say that in play? All right, number 11. You will not be given a mega dungeon every session. A temple is not the size of a small city, neither is a cave. This shit will happen when it's natural and organic. Go play some roguelike if you want that.
Again, this sounds like something very specific happened in his life.
Yeah.
Where I guess maybe someone's like, "Why isn't this Souls like? Why is everything so small?"
Why did that place only have 5 rooms when the one before it had 32?
Like, you like I said, I don't know where he's coming from this, but like really use a lot of maps, so there's a lot of caves that are exactly the same size, you know.
Yeah.
And like, not everything is a mega dungeon, but what defines a mega dungeon? Are we talking like, Dungeon of the Mad Mage that's 1,000 rooms per level and 100 levels deep? Or are you talking like, a temple with 20 or 30 rooms? I'd consider that a mega dungeon. Um,
In modern eras, yeah, 30 rooms, that's a mega dungeon.
but like, even the second edition, the first and second edition stuff we've been going over, man, there's only like 20 rooms, 25 per dungeon. I know there are bigger dungeons out there. Um, even Tomb of Horrors is only like 30
Yeah.
different encounters. So like, wh- what are people expecting when mega dungeon? Like, you need to set that up. You need to set that up. You don't even need to talk about that. If they're complaining about that, you just like, shit's
Like
different. You
like
know?
I think 30 rooms would be a mega dungeon. That's a big ass dungeon. Even in 5e, 5e, if you're damn lucky, before you have to long rest, you get 5 encounters.
Yeah,
First edition or early, first or second edition, you were because resting and healing and everything was a completely different ordeal in that era. Like you might enter a 30 room dungeon and you may not ever leave that dungeon, but it might also take you a week of in-game time to complete it. Just because healing, you got whatever your cleric has, and then you heal like 1 hit point a day. So very I won't say very different in the amount of rooms, but very just different in the way you have to play them.
yep,
All right, number 12. The travel portion is done. You want to travel continents, going or doing literally whatever you want, whenever you want. Go play World of Warcraft or play D&D with Chat GPT. This also sounds very specific to his table.
yeah,
Some campaigns I've run, they fucking travel all over the place.
yeah,
And some campaigns I've run, they barely, like you're running one where they don't really ever leave the city.
yeah.
So
I mean, what it feels like here is it feels like this guy really wants a very specific thing to happen. And when it doesn't happen, he gets upset. And it sounds like the players are very interested in other things. So I would, as the DM, focus on those things that they want
yeah,
and build around that versus forcing them to do what they want to do. It sounds like this guy has a lot of very narrative style encounters built out, and the group wants to go through dungeons more and be more table combat-y. Um, then you gotta do that. I tell people that play Adventures League is like, yeah, this is a drop in, drop out style game. It's mostly just a lot of different combats together. I usually try to do a campaign, but because the table changes so much, it's hard to do that and have a consistent story unless you're showing up every week. But feel free to pop in, do your shit for 1 week, have a blast doing it, and then leave and come back whenever you can. So
yep,
there's a lot more combat in Adventures League. There's no sessions in Adventures League that's just shopping and downtime. That just doesn't happen. Um, if it happens at the very beginning of the session or very end of the session, and that's it.
yep.
So I don't know what game he's trying to do, um, but I would also question this DM and say, hey, if you have people that want to go to this other continent and explore that place, then you got something good over there. Start mining that.
That it could be the case. That could be the case. It's a matter of if this guy has enough players that he could say, if this isn't what you want, get out of here, and then he can just find somebody to replace them. Fucking good on him.
Yeah.
Most of us don't get that option. I have 6 or 7 consistent players that I can pull from, and that's about it. So I'm going to run what they want to play most of the time.
Yeah. So like if I'm playing my main PC, if I'm playing my main Thaladred fighter NPC, and I give you the core story that is his background, and I tell you that one of his quirks, one of his traits is that he hates the undead and will go out of his way to make sure that they die. Okay? And then you give me a choice between, oh, there's a whole continent over here full of undead, and they're just a looming threat in the distance. And over here we have some thieves and bandits. I don't give a shit about your thieves and bandits, man. There's
Yeah.
there's a continent of undead over there. I'm booking the first ship over.
Yep.
Who's raiding that place and campaigning that place? That's the character I built. That's what I'm going to go for.
Now, if the rest of the players aren't on board with that, though, you might have to make a new character while Thaladrid runs off and fights with
Yes,
undead. So,
that's absolutely correct too. So I don't know what his issue was with this, but it sounded like you know,
yeah, I think I think from just reading what we've read so far, I think you're probably on the nail where his players really just want to do a lot of combat sessions, dungeon crawls, and things like that. And it doesn't seem like that's where he wants to go. He's probably trying to run a whole campaign with a story arc from beginning to end.
politics.
And these guys are probably just wanting to do dungeon crawling, you know?
No, guys, we have to negotiate trade routes with the Duke and the Duchess.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
I want to kill some rats, man. Come on.
All right. Number 13. If you are late with no good reason, I'm going to have your character's hit points for the entire session.
Alex, I will take what will make me never show up to your game ever again for 500, please.
Yeah, that's a big no-no. That one we don't do.
Hmm.
First edition, I know like some DMs who are really sticklers would dock people experience points. Uh,
No.
you know, but having your hit points for the entire session because you're late, looks people are going to be late. Just fucking get over it. If they're being shitty and canceling on you, then ditch them as players. But if they're just late occasionally, fucking get over it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, speaking of, okay, number 14. If you don't show up for no good reason, and that will be determined by me alone if no one else has the guts to say shit for fear of upsetting one another, the first time you'll find yourself losing either a whole level or up to 3 major items of your own. The second time you do it in a row, you'll be removed from the chat and the group full stop. I have no fucking time for people to not show up.
Alex, I'll take what will give me to never show up at this table for 1,000.
I mean, if you're not showing up anyway,
I mean, that's to be fair, yeah. I mean, it's shitty on the it's shitty it's shitty for a player to not show up without any explanation. AL's a different story, different breed. Um,
that's
you
that's a
know,
whole other thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole other. I mean, it's meant for that. I
Yeah.
don't need to keep track on that. I do have a lot of players that say, "Hey, I won't be there tonight," and I love that for them. I love it when they do that. I
Yeah.
have a whole Discord, dedicated to what I do and stuff, and we have this energy Discord. So I try to tell people when I won't be there, and that happens quite a lot recently, unfortunately. Um, but you know, you got to be a good player. You got to be a good DM about it.
Yeah.
Be an
Uh,
adult.
I don't have a problem with a lot of what he says there. Um,
I mean,
if you don't,
I do with the penalties.
well,
There's stages of like,
so,
let's talk to the player first.
yeah,
Let's
yeah, exactly. I don't think he's the first time you do this, the second time you're out. I don't necessarily agree with that. Um, but if you don't show up for a good reason, then he has the right to say you're not welcome here. He's as a DM, I want players who are going to show up. If you're going to miss a game, I get it. We all miss games sometimes. Give me as much of a head up as possible.
yeah
If you hit me up 5 minutes before the game, I'm gonna be a little miffed, but okay. If you hit me up, an hour after the game or the next day or not at all, yeah, I'm gonna be pretty upset about that.
yep
If you do it often, then I'm just not gonna let you play. The next two, they're pretty much the same damn one, so I'm just going to read them both. This was 15 and 16. So these are the last ones we have have, unfortunately. I was enjoying reading through these. uh, 15 is if you get too stoned or drunk to play, I will go home without a warning. Your warning is here. 16, if you get up for bong or smoke or whatever breaks every 10 minutes, I will simply pack up and go home. I'm sick of waiting for every bloke to be at the table. Yeah, I've
I mean,
it,
if you're in a scenario where people are getting too stoned or drunk to play, um, or they're prioritizing those materials over playing the game, they probably are prioritizing the materials over other things in their life as well too. And you should
mhm.
probably seek out appropriate help for them to get over that problem. That being said, I don't care if you drink at my table. I don't care if you get high at my table. I don't participate in either of those. But if it becomes disruptive, it's like every other disruptive player. There's a limit. Um, and that's basically what he should be approaching it with this. Like, if you're going to be disruptive at my table, whether it's because of drinking, drugs, or whatever, I will remove you. I'm not going to go home. That's
Yeah.
that's
Well, yeah. I mean, it might be he's going to this person's house or whatever. He can't remove them. Like I play over at somebody else's house. I can't just say you get out of your house. I'm going to keep running. That doesn't
no, no,
work.
no. You leave. Get out.
Yeah, you can go sit on the
I
front porch. I'm going to finish running this shit in your
I know
house.
you're drunk, but go for a drive around the block.
Yeah. I regularly have players at my table who take a few shots for the game. Very rarely do they get drunk. I've
Yeah.
had it before where I could tell a couple, once or twice where they were drunk, but not to the point of disruptive to the game. If that works for your table, well, all right, cool, it works for your table. But yeah, if somebody's too hammered to properly play and are disruptive, it's not going to work. And
Yeah.
every DM needs to kind of control that scenario. That's a lot of people these days do the session zero, and I would imagine that that's going to be in there. No drinking at my table or drinking within limits at my table, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
But that's his 16, and it's very apparent that this guy has a lot of anger issues. They, there are better ways to address these problems than this guy was. Let me do this. We read this list for fun. I don't think we could read through all 44. I just think this guy was just going to delve off into just obscurity.
yeah,
Um,
I don't think you could have got 44 of them out of there.
yeah, but yeah, like what really threw me was number 9. If
Uh,
you argue, go home, or you can actually fight me over it. Like,
yeah, I
oh
love
my
that.
god.
Uh,
I've never seen any kind of tabletop role playing game go to blows, but I guess sure.
I've seen people get in fucking real arguments before, but
Yeah, that happens all the time.
I
But
mean, like yelling and screaming, one person storming out. I've seen that, but I've never seen it to the point of fisticuffs.
I mean, you got to think that even though you're playing a tabletop game, you're playing a game where people become emotionally invested with the things that they're doing. And when they lose a character, a magic item, a pet, you know, that emotionally affects those people. And my wife has cried when certain things have happened. She said, a few times, like, if my character would have died, I would have quit the game and never come back because she was just too invested in that character living, you know,
Yeah.
in those scenarios. But at the same time, too, it's like you got to be as much or as more as an adult if you're the DM. As a player, you need to be responsible for yourself, not be disruptive, and help the DM out whenever you can.
Yeah. The
I
trick.
When I go to Adventures League, I can't help you build a character and start setting up the game. I need someone else to help you with that. If there's no game to set up, I can help you build a character. So
It's
I guess
important.
I find myself grateful that I have a lot of good players at Adventures League.
Yeah, that's important. It is important as well for players though to not get so invested into characters that they're willing to leave the game over it. That's
Yeah,
very important to not be that invested because this is a game where final death there is potential for it.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, and it depends on how strict your DM is. You kill a lot more fucking characters than I ever have,
I
and
don't try, man. I
I know. Oh
honestly,
no, I know. You don't try. You also play with different people than I do. It's different crowds. At the same time, like our buddy Muffin, he's a perfect example. I've killed multiple of his characters over the years, and I've been in games where he's had characters killed. And he just sucks it up, makes a new character, and that's what you have to do sometimes.
yeah.
That's the nature of role playing games. Your character can die.
What? oh, Going back to Adventures League this week. Um, the first fight that they got into was basically a little gladiatorial pit that had one goblin in basically full plate that was too small for, or he was too small for it, so he
Okay.
couldn't really move. His speed was like 10. But he was pretty beefy, so he could hit pretty well. But all he could do is hit. And there was two casters, two like standard mage caster goblins, and one specialty shaman goblin. Um, and the rest of them were just brutes and range characters. I had 6 players, all level 5 or 6 at the table, and the goblins were about 30 to 50 hit points each, and they had like a +5 to hit. Okay, and that's just the average I kind of went with.
Yeah.
And oh my god, did they just nearly TPK? Okay, so like they start the encounter and they start the fight. They get in there. Um, the casters go off. I threw one fireball. It was devastating. One player got all his crits off, but then the players kept missing and missing and missing and missing and missing. So I dialed back the tactics huge. I stopped throwing the bigger spells out and just started just throwing cantrips out. I was like, I'm gonna kill you all. Come on, start hitting things. No one's rolling above a 10. Everybody's missing. Like the highest AC there was 15, and they couldn't hit that. And they had like +2
Jeez.
great swords and shit.
Yeah.
Of the table, 5 of them went down. All that was left was a high elf barbarian. Okay, it was just her. He proceeded, once everybody was down, to wipe the floor with the goblins. And no joke, like I said, I had pulled back my tactics, but I kept rolling as normal. I had a plan in place for if they did TPK, I was going to have them be thrown in prison and be sent to the gladiator ring themselves and had to fight their way out of it. So I had a plan to basically kill them, but not TPK them fully.
Yeah.
So I had a backup plan because I was 100% sure they were going to fail. So they start rolling around. Everybody makes their death saves. Okay, just naturally. Everybody naturally makes it. Sorry, one person didn't make the death save, but the druid thing that I have for this campaign kicked in, and he got reincarnated as an owlin. But like I said, that barbarian just started running around the room, and just she started going off and just hitting everything. She was still getting hit, but she was raging, so she was taking like
Right.
half
Half
damage from
damage. Yeah.
everything, and she just blendered through all the goblins. And I was just like, guys, next time just send her in by herself. You guys suck.
Everybody else just stay out.
Let
Maybe.
let the barbarian go, and when they're down, go back in, pick the barbarian up, and see what
Yeah.
happens.
Just everybody learn healing word, and just stay out. Barbarian gets low or down. Healing word. Move on.
Yeah, it
I
was
mean,
just it was such a weird thing to happen, and for that just to happen just blew my mind. Like I said, one player got 3 crits in a row. That's really statistically impossible. That's a low chance for that to
seen
happen.
it. It's rare though. Very
Yeah,
rare.
and then for all of them just stop rolling above a 10, like
Yep.
I can't I can't help you guys. I can't make your rolls better.
Yeah.
But
We're trying. We're doing our best to keep you alive here, but you got to work with us. Come on, dice. Fucking hell. Uh, so I had another topic I wanted to chat about tonight, and I want to walk you through how my brain got here
okay,
because this
first your mommy and daddy spent the
no
night
no no no
together.
no 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 no. So
Okay.
yeah, on this podcast, I'll occasionally come up with some topic that I had in my head, and I'll ramble about it for a few minutes, and then we move on. And I want people to understand exactly how the hell my brain works, being ADD as shit. So I wanted one of the topics to be about the Rimmer has tonight. Because
Moraz
the Rimmer has. We've been
or
fighting them.
Moraz?
Yeah, whatever. It's Remorhaz. Rimmer has.
Remoraz.
Yeah, Rimmer has. I was waiting for it. You done?
Just three. Just three times.
Okay. All right. That was what I wanted the topic to be about. And I was looking
Okay.
at the 5e stats, and then I was thinking, okay, well, I should probably pull out like my 2e book and just sort of do a comparison to the two because we've been playing Solasta and we've come across them recently. Kicked the shit out of one with a whole monster spell recently.
That was
Um,
great.
So I'm sitting there thinking about that, and then I'm flipping through the internet, and I come across an article that says octopuses are building a city underwater.
What? Really?
Yeah,
Where?
yes, yeah. I'll send you the article here in a bit, but that's actually octopuses are building underwater cities. Researchers dubbed one of the new towns Atlantis. So I see this, and immediately, since I was thinking about the second edition Rimmer has, I start thinking, well, wait a minute, wasn't there an octopus like an intelligent octopus monster in the second edition monster manual? And I knew there was. So I had to go and find it because I couldn't remember the name. And I just start flipping through the monster manual. And I'm flipping page by page because I couldn't remember the name. I come across gnomes. And as I'm flipping past gnomes, I see a gnome called a Spriggan gnome. You ever heard of it?
Nope.
Yeah, it's some old ass shit. They're basically the evil versions of gnomes, and one of the top lines is that they can just enlarge themselves at any point.
Ah, okay. Like the Duragar.
And my first thought was, wait a minute, did Duergar were they able to do that in second edition, or did they fuck up and swap these around in third edition? So I had to flip back to the Duergar just to verify. And after reading a whole bunch about the Duergar, I finally came across it late in the reading because they don't separate things in second edition. You actually have to read everything to find out what they can do. So I read that. I was like, okay, they didn't fuck that up. So I continue flipping through the book, and then I come across the Tanari. And I have no idea why the Tanari stood out to me. And I look at the Marilith, and I realize there is an ability from second edition that all demons and devils have that does not exist anymore. They could actually gate in other demons and devils for free, basically.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of demons and devils do have summon abilities now, though, as a standard thing, but not gate in stuff. No.
Yeah, here I'll find a. I'll actually look at the Tanari. So the Marilith specifically. Where is it? Of course, now I can't find it. But yeah, so okay, the we'll look at the Baylor. So they could gate in 1 to 8 least, which is the very minor uh demons, 1 to 6 lesser, 1 to 4 greater, or one true Tanari to their location. The gate is always successful, but maybe used once per hour. The Marilith has a lesser chance. It's a percentage chance
Hmm.
that they can just do it. Yeah, they may attempt to gate in 2 to 20 least, 1 to 6 lesser, 1 to 4 greater, or one true once per hour with a 35% chance of success. So
Interesting.
yeah, I like that. It just makes them way more fucking dangerous. Yeah, because even in second edition, that's the equivalent of a CR 16 monster.
Yeah.
And then if they gate in another, because a true Tanari is another Marilith or even a Baylor. So they could potentially go from a CR 16 combat to I don't know, a Baylor is a CR 20, whereas a second Marilith is a CR 16. So you're really just pushing the limits by doing that.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the fiends on D&D Beyond. There it is.
Oh, okay. And
Um,
mind you, nothing at this point. I still haven't even gotten to finally finding the octopus monster I was thinking about. So
Um,
they apparently are called Taco, Tako. They are from the Oriental Adventures setting.
oh, I love tacos.
I know. I fucking eat tacos 2 or 3 nights a week
Yeah.
without octopus on them, however. So anyway, back
So
to
yeah,
the
Pit Devil
demons.
can't summon things in. The red Abiyashi can't summon things in. Mm, Trying to find another
Yeah, if anyone could, it'd be the Baylor.
Titiphilius. Teleport. Nope, doesn't have summoning. Wow, I thought they did. Maybe I'm thinking of
4E maybe?
no, maybe I'm thinking of not fiends, but
Devils?
devils. Yeah, no, the fiends are devils.
Or
Demons.
okay, demons, yeah.
Demons. Still, you always get that confused because they're all the same to me, man.
Well, no, devils are lawful evil, demons are chaotic evil.
Demon.
Yeah.
What? Are there
Is it
demons?
under Tanari?
There's no Tanari. I couldn't find that. No,
Oh, okay. They don't call them that anymore, I guess.
no. All right, that's interesting. I know there's a lot of in the old variant of monsters they had spell lists and spell
Oh yeah,
columns,
yeah.
and
But
now
these are
they
that's
don't.
just an
So
ability. That's not even a spell thing. They can just do it.
yeah,
And I don't know if I didn't look so deeply to see if all of them could do it. It might just be like the bigger ones. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, just an interesting feature that I came across while looking for an octopus monster. So that's how my brain works. That's how I end up with weird fucking topics by literally just going down a rabbit hole that leads me from one thing to the next thing to the next thing until I finally settle on something.
Mm.
By the way, Meriliths are fucking terrifying. Even in 5e, they're still nasty.
Yeah.
CR16 monster, 7 attacks around, +9 to hit. So 6 attacks are with long swords. That's +9 to hit, 2d8 +4 on every one of those, and then a potential grapple attack from the tail.
Mm.
So
That.
kind of nasty monsters.
Yep. Did you watch Pinky and the Brain, right?
G-Brain, I think so. But where are we gonna find rubber pants this time of night?
So
Yes,
did you ever see the episode where they explained why Pinky always said something very off the wall?
I have seen it. I do not remember it. I definitely have seen it though.
Yeah. So pretty much basically it's like when brain starts talking about whatever plan, his brain starts doing that too, where it just goes off on this weird topic,
Yeah.
related tangentially related to what brain was talking about. And eventually he comes to that pondering question and brain asks, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking about?" And that's why Pinky says those crazy things. And I did that I always remember that for some reason. I don't know why.
So I'm apparently Pinky.
Yeah.
that expl-
Technically
that
technically he's
explains
the
so
smart
much.
one.
Yeah.
And brain is the as he proved himself mathematically, he's the reason why they fail all of his plans.
Good to know. Good to know I am Pinky. He was always my favorite of the two anyway. Uh,
So I do have something that I'd like to bring up. I don't have a new book in my pile to talk about today.
what? But you have a whole pile.
I do have a lot more to go through.
I'm guessing you just
Bec
haven't done that yet.
No, it wasn't that I haven't done it yet. I found something a little more interesting currently.
Okay.
I was in Target with my wife. We had to buy silverware because all of our silverware is gone. I don't know what happened to it. It's just all gone.
Well, you do have a small child.
Yeah. And while I was going through the toy section slash book section, I found a new book by Jeff Ashworth.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to talk about because I saw this pop up recently. But I'll let you go for it.
So it's he's the guy that wrote all the Game Master's Guides to books, or at least helmed the first couple.
Yeah.
And this new one is called "Everything I Need to Know I Learned from RPGs." And it's a
Okay.
player's handbook
I
for the
haven't
game
seen
of
this.
life.
I
Okay,
have not
good.
seen this one. So
this is a self-help book that he wrote with a D&D flair to it. Okay, so I'll go over just a couple things. I'll browse the table of contents for y'all here real quick. Essentially, it starts off with basically recognizing how you approach life and what class that is. Um, then it gives you some tips from the tables, basically takeaways and practical lessons that can help with ongoing campaigns, aka real world issues. He talked about real world monsters like the Ghost of Nostalgia, the FOMO Swarm, the Internet Troll, the Ooze of Existential Dread, the Time Vampire, and basically provides you with like ways to combat those quote unquote monsters. Then he basically has a list of spells, curses, and mundane magic items that can help you throughout your day. All right.
All right.
So I, of course, flipped over to the fighter, which I will get here. And the fighter is um, that's the druid.
Yeah,
It
that's
says
that's not the fighter.
can't stop, won't stop. How to live like a fighter without carrying a weapon. Um, Fighters, whether armed with a blade, a bow, or bludgeoning bow staff, fighters don't require magical ability to put a hurt on an adversary. Originally called the Fighting Man in D&D's first edition, the fighter has changed a fair amount over the course of the game's various iterations, including getting a less gender-specific name, described as a well-rounded specialist who are trained for danger in the player's handbook, and a fighter is well acquainted with death, both meaning it out and staring it directly in the face. So basically, he just takes the fighter and basically explains how to address issue, and like kind of like the Rocky quote. It's not about how hard you can hit, but it's how hard you can get hit.
How often you can get up? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a little table for each class. This one's live like a fighter. Roll 1d6 on the table to continue your training. You
Okay.
roll 1d6. It says today you will. Let's see. Let's roll a d6 here with one of my grumpy dungeon master die. 5. Today I will 5. 5 is extra attack. I can engage my ability to strike more often, more than once, and make headway on my goals by digging in and delivering another shot.
All right.
So it's just like a weird, nice self-help book.
Yeah.
And
It's a self-help book based around Dungeons and Dragons, which I approve of. I There are a lot of people that we know that could use some self-help.
yeah, the there's been a couple of these, but this one's definitely more D&D focused than the others.
Hmm.
Like here's a second level spell called Can Do Spirit. Casting time less than a moment. Range of 60 feet. Duration up to 1 minute, requires focus. You call forth the spirit of positivity to silence doubt and bolster resolve. The intangible spirit appears in a space that is that is a 5 foot cube you can see within range. The spirit looks like a transparent beast or fey, your choice, and is carrying a pom-poms and a megaphone or both. Until the spell ends, whenever you or a creature you can see moves into the spirit's space for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there, you can use the spirit to grant it immunity to a single condition at the GM's discretion. A creature touched by this spirit gains 1d4 to a single roll for the spell's duration. The spirit can affect a number of creatures equal to 1 plus your spellcasting ability modifier. After affecting the number of creatures, the spirit disappears. As a secondary action, you can move the spirit up to 30 feet in the space you can see. So it gave actual spells.
Yeah, like that's actual stats for a spell.
Right. Um, And one of the mundane magic items that I really liked here is the Mom Bag of Holding. The wondrous rare item. This bag functions as a magical bag of holding. The bag itself is also imbued with a mother's ability to conjure seemingly anything. A permanent marker, a thermometer, a needle and thread, a single aspirin, days old lollipop that only has a little cat hair on it, a disposable cleaning wipe, a small envelope of expired coupons, deep within the depths of her bags. If you are ever in need of a non-magic item, provided it meets the other requirements for storage within your bag, you may to search for the item in question. You simply say, "Let me see if I have one of those in here." naming the item and rolling a d20. Those with proficient investigation can roll with advantage. On a 16 through 20, the object can be found within the bag and functions as a normal version of the stated item.
That's effectively a Kinder's bag.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. But
But
yeah,
I just picked this up today, so I haven't had a chance to really dive into it.
okay.
But it has that Game Master's Guide to Books flair,
Yep.
and it really is addressed in a lot of ways with um, helping you kind of overcome different things, like the many-headed hydra of personal finance. You
Oh,
know,
yeah, we all know that one.
bills, bills, bills. The hydra's attacks magically cause an equal amount of gold to disappear from the inventory of an individual attacked, and they all have like actual usage in D&D if you really wanted it. Kind of like Acquisitions Incorporated. Like if you're running that kind of game, this book would fit in perfectly for that,
Yeah.
and you might be able to, get to the gym a little more often.
The book I have seen, I've only seen like a cover or the picture of the cover, but it's the Game Master's Handbook of Proactive Role Playing, and that's the one I thought you were going to talk about. And the foreword was written by Jenny D, and the afterword was written by Jeff Ashworth.
Okay,
And it's guidelines and strategies for running PC-driven narratives in 5e adventures.
very
So,
cool.
yeah, like I've yet to come across one of the Game Master's handbooks that wasn't just amazing. Uh, they're 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 generally like half the price of a standard D&D book and a million times the amount of content.
Yeah, I still want to use that Bat Boy stat block we found when we talked to Jeff.
Yeah.
I gotta find a way to fit him in somehow. Well,
Uh,
I picked it up at Target. It was $13, man. Like,
yeah, like that's and even if you bought it brand new, it would have been like 25 or if you bought it at the bookstore, for full price, it's like $25, I think. Although
well,
they've been releasing them in paperback edition, so those might be even cheaper.
yeah, Target there's always like that 30% off sticker,
Ah, okay.
whatever that means. But also the artwork in this is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah.
just an FYI.
Speaking of artwork, I got one last topic I wanted to cover. Have
Oh
you
my god.
seen? It's not art specifically. It's about a design. Dungeons and Dragons reveals the new gold dragon design.
So
Have you seen this bullshit?
yes, so I wanted to talk about that actually. So the player's handbook shows what everyone was calling a lung dragon. I guess that's the gold dragon.
Yeah, but a lung dragon is an Asian dragon. It's not it's not gold. It's not any of those specifically. It doesn't operate the same way.
So from what I saw in the article about the fact that the gold dragon is now more akin to the Asian style of dragons, more like the flying serpent than anything.
Hmm.
And that's how it was in first edition. So I was like, that can't be true. That's weird. I
No.
went and opened it up, and that's indeed it. It follows what it was back in first edition. So
Uh, go
I'm
ahead.
okay with it. I really am. If they want to go back to a first E, second E kind of thing where and they're following those monsters more, because
Second ed, that is not the
I'm looking
standard gold
I'm
dragon.
looking right at it, man. Um,
I've got the monster manual right behind me. I was just looking at him.
so if I go to the Forgotten Realms wiki, it shows a different picture for all the dragons for each year, and only starting in third do they become a dragon, as I would consider a dragon. That's we've
Yeah,
discussed many times.
absolutely incorrect.
And then the second edition and first edition both have the old school dragon. I'll give you the link. It'll be in our podcast chat.
I mean, I can take a picture of it right now and send it to you. I'm sitting
Go,
here
go
staring
ahead,
at them.
do it. I dare you.
So, let's see. Dragon, chromatic dragon, green dragon. Yep, that looks like an old dragon. I know you've seen the red box where they have the normal red dragon on it.
Yeah,
Like,
and those were those things, but it was the gold and I think the silver, the Bahamut. In second edition, there were all the Asian style dragons.
Ah, okay, I got you. Okay, so it's just those two
It's
specifically.
just those specific metallic dragons were
Yeah, okay. You are the silver is not, the gold is.
okay. So yeah. So okay, I don't know why. That's interesting. So
Very odd. I'm looking. There's the nope. Cloud dragon is not. I'm looking to see if there are any other. The mist dragon. The mist dragon looks exactly like Never Ending Story. What the fuck was
never
that?
ending. So
Falcor.
Falcor.
He just looks like Falcor.
So Falcor's real, huh?
Yeah, apparently
Yeah. So yeah, that
that
the
is
Mist
weird.
Dragon
Yeah, I've
is
never
that
noticed
style.
that.
So
Huh.
yeah, it wasn't all the dragons. It was just the gold dragon, and again a couple other very specific ones were that Asian style dragon. I can't remember. Is it serpent dragon?
Uh, Lung dragon. It's Chinese. It's Chinese dragon basically. Uh,
Long dragon. Okay. I was looking for the yeah, the picture here. I got the picture up. Um, it's what I reference for dragons, and it's again that the images in our podcast chat. It's a nice little colored reference chart for what different dragons are. So so yeah, I mean
I still
that's
don't. I don't like it. They've moved away from that for a very long time at this point.
since third edition. Yeah,
Now that being said, the artwork that I'm looking at
it's
doesn't.
fantastic.
No, it doesn't even look like the Chinese dragon. Um, Let me post this in the where should I post this? General
Podcast chat.
podcast chat.
Yep.
Where I'll post the link to the article.
Okay.
So it looks the dragon has butterfly wings
So what I
and
think they
and
did is they
and
combined
ridges that just sort of go all the way down it from the back of the
right.
wings all the way down the tail. It looks weird.
So what they did is they combined the third edition dragon, I think third edition gold dragon, and even how it's in 5e, where it has like the one continuous kind of like cobra wing style.
Like
And
if you look at it from top down on that article I linked, it looks like a sword.
yeah.
It's not right, man.
So I mean, look at the look at the 3e dragon, where it has its dragon's wings, but it's the wing webbing goes from the wings all the way down to the bottom of its tail.
Yeah.
So they kind of like kept that aesthetic of it. So it has the little wings that kind of stick out a little bit, and that the webbing goes all the way down. It is a little weird. It does. He does look like a giant gold sword flying through the air.
Yep.
But you know what? Use it in the game somehow.
I mean, you don't
Make
have to. You as the DM can describe your dragon any way you want.
no. I like the fact that he's a sword. You can make him into a sword for real.
Yeah, just paralyze him, and you have to be use a small one. Use like a baby dragon, and then you have to be a giant, and then you just paralyze him and use him as a weapon.
It reminds me of the big furry monster from from Magic the Gathering.
Oh yeah, yeah, the BFM.
Yeah, where it says it was big, really, really big. No, bigger than that, even bigger. Keep
Yep.
going, more, no more. Look, we're talking about krakens and dreadnoughts for jewelry. It was big. So yeah, he can dual wield gold dragons.
Yeah, yeah. The big furry monster was the very first Magic card that had two cards to make up one card.
That's my favorite. I wish I had it.
Oh yeah, I used to a long time ago.
I'd put that in a deck right now and play it.
Yeah, people will look at you funny, like that shit's not legal. That's unglued.
Uh huh. And swing for 99, bitch.
I mean, let's be honest. Most people these days have never even seen unglued cards because
Oh,
that shit's
it
been out of
dies to
print for.
removal.
Yeah, it does. It does. So anyway, I think that's all the topics I had.
Yeah. I'm up for moving monsters back to the our first edition. I specifically want kobolds to go back to dogs.
Yes.
I
I-
really do.
Yeah, I am all for. Honestly, I don't like the way the gold dragon looks, but if they're going to move all of the monsters back to the way they looked in 1E, fucking do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
friendship
will.
beholders.
I'll have that shitty looking gold dragon if I can get my kobolds back, my OG hobgoblins, orcs. Where they actually look like orcs. things like that. I'm down.
Meaning they're not World of Warcraft honorable
Yeah,
greenskins?
they don't say zug zug. None of that shit. Loktar.
Oh, Loktar. I'm gonna go back and play WoW then. I think.
Of course you are. You haven't stopped playing WoW in like 3 weeks, a month,
And
something like
just
that.
be glad I'm doing the podcast.
I know. Right? I thought I was gonna have to call up Mike, be like, Mike, I need you to do the podcast, or Bruce or somebody. I
Wow,
can't get Chris off of fucking World of Warcraft again.
WoW's a hell of a drug, guys.
It is. It is. All right. Well, I think we're out of here. Thanks for
All right,
listening, guys.
I love you all. Bye.
Bye, Craig.